Hello, football fans, and welcome once again to Goalside. Today, we'll talk about the essence of football, goals. They are scored everywhere, all the time, but only a select few claim to belong in a group of the most improbable and impossible goals of all time. We selected some of the most wondrous goals ever scored and put together a list of the most breathtaking ones, so let's get underway. Roberto Carlos versus Tenerife. Roberto Carlos is a football legend in his own right. The Brazilian redefined the left-back position, acting as a real threat for an opponent's goal from a position that was traditionally looked at as the defensive one. He spent 11 years at Real Madrid and he won everything: Champions League, La Liga, Copa del Rey, and he won the World Cup with Brazil in the meantime. Carlos had a lethal left foot, and all the goalkeepers in the world had a fear of facing Roberto Carlos on the opposite side. However, Carlos's arguably most incredible goal ever arrived against Tenerife in 1998. His teammate had sent the fall to the flank, which Carlos preoccupied. However, it was a tad bit too strong, at least for most players. After he made a sacrificing run to get the ball, Carlos didn't cross it into the box. Instead, he shot it with full power, scoring from an impossible angle, leaving the stadium in shock. This was described as a goal that defied the laws of physics. Some channels went as far trying to explain it with science, and there was simply no answer. Ibrahimovic against England. There are thousands and thousands of footballer players out there. Each of them have some similarities, and they all have their comparison in the world of football. However, there's only one Zlatan. Ibrahimovic is famous for scoring all sorts of eye-dropping goals throughout his career. His club list is a testament to his quality. Ibra played at Ajax, Juventus, Inter, Barcelona, Milan, Paris Saint-Germain, and Manchester United. He's seen it all. It's no wonder that he made it with the confidence he had, but his confidence peaked in the year 2012. England was hosting Sweden in an international friendly meant to celebrate new Wembley opening. Zlatan Ibrahimovic knew this was the perfect time to shine. England was up 2-1, but then Zlatan took it to a new level, scoring 2 goals to complete his hat trick and give Sweden a 3-2 lead. However, none of that even mattered after Zlatan did what Zlatan does. Sweden hoofed the long ball as they were defending against England's attacks. Joe Hart decided to be brave, so he runs towards the ball in order to clear it away. But he didn't count on Zlatan Ibrahimovic being there. After Hart sloppily headed the ball away just a couple of yards, the goal was empty and Ibrahimovic could control the ball and try to do something with it. Instead, Ibra didn't even let the ball land. He hit an overhead kick from more than 30 yards out, with the ball perfectly landing into the English goal. Ibrahimovic scored his 4th goal of the match and everyone instantly knew they had witnessed history. Testimonies from that legendary day say it all. One of Sweden's players, Tobias Sana, recalls the event. It was the perfect performance. Zlatan against children. He has been criticized in England in the past, but this proves them all wrong. Swedish manager at the time noted, "Sometimes you feel you're looking at a computer game when you can do all these incredible things, because that's not possible to do that 4th goal." Leon Osman, who debuted for England that day, joined the praise fest. "I'd watch him play a few times, but to be out there on the field and see how quickly his brain worked and just how good he was fascinating." And Zlatan? Well, the man of the hour actually downplayed it as if it wasn't that big of a deal. "When he headed it, I had it in my mind to try and score. I hit it in midair, and when I landed it, saw a shot cross running back to try to clear, but it bounced over him. It was a good try, and that's all. When it comes off, it looks fantastic, but for me, I like the first goal more because it was history, the first in the new arena." Dennis Bergkamp versus Newcastle. Footballing art. Looking at Bergkamp's goal against Newcastle will leave you breathless, wondering how somebody could have such a soft and beautiful touch on the ball. Dennis Bergkamp played at Arsenal for 11 seasons, establishing himself as a club legend, becoming one of the best all-time goal scorers for the Gunners. The Dutchman was everything Arsene Wenger wanted his team to be, a footballing master that could do anything with the ball, unpredictable and amazing. There's only one Dennis Bergkamp. But his most incredible moment came in the year 2002. Arsenal were facing Newcastle, as every goal and match mattered for Arsenal as they looked to beat their hated rivals, Manchester United, to the league title. At one point in the match, Pires found Bergkamp at the edge of the box. The Dutchman was turned away from his marker and the opposition goal. In a stroke of genius, he flicked the ball just enough to get it past his defender and give it a spin so that it returns to him as soon as he finishes his pirouette. Not only that, but facing the goalkeeper, Bergkamp kept his cool, sliding the ball into the net and creating a footballing history moment that hasn't been repeated since. It was as if Bergkamp was drawing a masterpiece with the ball. The elegance, the coolness, the art from that goal, still, it's unmatched. Thierry Henry versus Manchester United. The young Thierry Henry just made his breakthrough at Arsenal, and now he wanted to show the world he could do it against the best. At the time, Manchester United were the reigning Premier League winners, definitely the best. Arsenal were also coming up in a big way as they wanted to snatch the title away from the Red Devils. So, when Sir Alex Ferguson and United arrived to Highbury, Thierry Henry wanted to show them who's the boss in England, and his match-winning goal was a thing of dreams. Henry received the ball about 20 yards, facing the ball with his back. However, in a moment of brilliance, he flicked the ball onto his right foot and shot the perfect volley. Fabian Barthez was frozen on goal, only left to admire his competitor's wonder strike. The match ended 1-0, and Henry was an absolute hero that day. "You can't do anything about a goal like that," Ferguson admitted. Wenger joined a loud adding, "When you haven't been scoring goals, sometimes you need to try something a little bit crazy. Something you don't have to think about, but you just do it." Thierry played with much more freedom once he had scored. Roberto Carlos versus France. Guess who again? Mr. Impossible Goal, Roberto Carlos. We already listed one of Carlos's Real Madrid goals, and now it's time for one of his international goals. Brazil facing France, as both teams had some incredible players on their squads. Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Henry, Zinedine Zidane all shared the same pitch that day. But none of the offensive masters were the stars. Instead, it was the left back, Roberto Carlos, who scored the most impossible free kick in football to this day. He put the ball around 35 meters away from the goal. In a move of caution, Fabian Barthez put 4 players on the wall, knowing the threat of Roberto Carlos' free kick. However, it was all for nothing. Carlos made his trademark run before striking the ball, which went far away from the goal to its right, before it drifted back perfectly to near the post, shocking everyone in attendance. It's still amazing how that ball found its way to the net. Roberto Carlos himself admits it's his best ever free kick, including the training ones, as he confessed. Asked about his best goal ever, he replied, "It's got to be the free kick against France. That was more spectacular, even if the goal against Tenerife was more difficult. I always struck set pieces on the valve because that's the hardest part of the ball, and you get more power. I always kicked the ball from its bottom left to the top right, which helped it swerve. I'll always remember the advertising behind the goal. I was aiming for the A in La Poste, but when I hit the shot, it was miles away from that, going toward a different advertisement. The ball boy was diving out of the way of the shot too. He should have had more confidence in me." He ended, fittingly, marking it as an unforgettable. Goals like that come around only once in your career. I hit a few like that in training, with and without a wall, but never with as much swerve and spin. It was a beautiful goal. Unforgettable. Diego Maradona versus England. It was the biggest stage of them all, the World Cup. Argentina and England met at the semifinals, and only one of them would get a chance to fight for the biggest honor in the world of football. The teams were pretty even too, and the English were hoping they could recreate their 1966 World Cup glory. But only one team had Diego Armando Maradona. And perhaps the best individual football performance of all time. Maradona first scored a goal with his hand. That's right, he jumped up for the header, only to extend his arm and score the ball past the English goalkeeper. The referee didn't see it, although the assistant would admit years later that there was something suspicious. Although I felt immediately there was something irregular, back in that time FIFA didn't allow the assistants to discuss the decisions with the referee. But Maradona himself, he has no regrets, categorically denying any guilt. "I am not sorry for scoring with my hand. Not sorry at all. Not then, not 30 years later. Not on my deathbed." However, that wasn't even the highlight of the day. Just a couple of minutes later, Maradona scored what is highly regarded as the best goal ever. He took the ball in the middle of the pitch. He spun around 2 English players before turning towards the goal. He then dribbled all of the England defense, even the goalkeeper, before scoring what turned out to be the crucial semi-final goal, and the one that would, later on, be enough for Argentina to lift the World Cup trophy. Maradona's teammates were stunned with what they had just witnessed. But also after that came a goal which for me is still the best in World Cup history, a goal which was worth the one with the hand and 2 more. Boruchaga claimed, and Maradona himself was just as surprised as anyone. "Whenever I see it again, I can't believe I managed it, not because I scored, but because it seems like a goal that just isn't possible, a goal that you could dream of but never actually score." Perhaps we should end the part about Maradona's magic by quoting the Uruguayan commentator's translated words at the time. "Intergalactic kite, what planet did you come from to leave so many Englishmen in the dust? To make the whole country into one great clenched fist, shaking, shouting for Argentina? Diego Armando Maradona. Sweet Lord, thank you for the game of football, for Maradona, for these tears, and for this Argentina 2, England 0. Yes, goals are why we watch and play football, but some are just better than the others. It's the moment of brilliance that stays in our hearts and minds for a lifetime, and these men provided us with some beautiful ones. Thank you, beautiful gentlemen, for making the game even more gorgeous than it already is.